A one and a two and a chick-a-boom a chick.
So what you're about to hear is a Facebook Live recording. I recorded it inside the Remodelers Community private Facebook group. Sounds exclusive, doesn't it? If you are a remodeler who does kitchens, baths, interior type remodeling, you would love this group. If you go to remodelerscommunity.com, it will take you there. This is a Facebook Live I did, and I had 3 little things that I wanted to talk about. One was explaining the remodeling process in more detail and with more clarity and with more realness to prospects. Number 2 was related to financials and taxes. And number 3 was related to job costing. And I grabbed the audio, actually Bailey did. She grabbed the audio and we're turning it into a podcast because I was kind of fired up and I thought it was really good content, and it's something that I want you to hear and take seriously, especially, which one would I say the most? I would say number 2 is important, but number 3 especially. You've got to be taking time to understand your job costing. You've got to be taking time to understand your tax liability. And frankly, number 1 is pretty important too. Enjoy, listen, learn, and do something with it. Thanks. All right. So now most podcast people would re-record that, but 2 things. 1, that was Bailey sneezing. 1 day a week she comes to the office. The rest of the week she works remotely. Say hi, Bailey.
Hello.
Oh, she hates when I do that. And she couldn't hold off on sneezing for 5 more seconds.
Trying so hard.
She was holding it in. One of the things that we do, and this is a good idea related for any assistants that you have or an office manager or anybody on your team, is she goes into my calendar and reserves time on my calendar for various topics. Sometimes it's just focused on content creation. Sometimes we call it a Kyle Bailey Blitz meeting where we're just going through anything and everything. Other times it might be something specific to Remodelers Autopilot, and we just talk about that. Grab little 30-minute meetings with your team to just focus in on that topic to make progress on it. So literally we're sitting here, we got to the podcast part and I said, let me go grab my microphone. Let me record the intro. That way you can run with it and get it posted. So there you go. A little added benefit. Thank you for sneezing because I think that added some value, Bailey. Enjoy. All right. 3 things for you this morning that are fresh on my mind. 1 is about explaining more upfront to clients. 2 is related to financials, taxes, etc. And 3 is related to job costing. So the first one is related to explaining more clearly upfront to your customers the reality of remodeling. This came up when I was in one of my Remodeler Circle Mastermind groups yesterday, and they were talking about the customers being upset and being upset with the process, not realizing that it was going to do this or that or the other. And the conversation that ensued talked about sharing some ideas. The group shared some ideas and I shared some ideas of we need to do a better job up front, maybe during the sales process, certainly during the pre-construction conference, certainly as we're going through the process of explaining to the homeowner that this remodeling thing is not for the faint of heart. It's going to be hard. Like we like to just give them the rosy view of it, and I think that does a disservice. It gets them more frustrated. When we're able to articulate to them that, Ben mentioned this yesterday, that there's going to be some times, even though we do a lot as far as dust protection, that you're going to get into, hi Amanda, that you're going to get into your bed and it's going to feel a little gritty, like there's going to be some dust. That while we work so hard to make selections up front and to make sure this project happens on schedule, there's going to be some interruptions, that you're going to be frustrated by the fact that you are washing your dishes in your bathroom sink. There's going to be a part in this process where you're going to be sick of getting takeout food, and you wish that this just would be done so that you can cook a meal in your new kitchen. By the way, the end result of this, you're going to love it, and it's going to be so good, but the reality is that during the process, it's hard, and we need you guys to bear with us. We need you guys to work. We need to work together as a team to minimize that, but we want to be upfront and clear that this is hard. And there's going to be disruptions. So I don't think that's something that, I don't think that's something that, you're only the second person I know that's named Chance. Chance Heiser I grew up with, went to high school with him. I don't think we're doing a good enough job of clearly articulating that as well as we could. So think about that. Even comment below, and the several people that I've talked to about that so far have been like, yeah, I could do a lot better job of setting clear expectations. The more clear expectations you set, the less surprise they have, the less cranky they hopefully will be. Secondly, as I was driving yesterday, I started thinking about taxes and financials, and it is September 13th. If you are not clear with what your tax liability looks like this year, it is time to get after that. Whether that is related to at the end of the year, whether you hold some projects, into 2020, whether you hold a check at the tail end of the year, that's some obvious stuff. But what about, what does your tax liability look like? If you're an S corp, you've probably been taking a salary. You have your pass-through income. Have you been withholding enough taxes, or are you going to be surprised? I do not want you to be surprised in February, March next year with an $8,000, $12,000, $14 tax bill. $14 would be fine, but $14,000 tax bill. There is no reason at this late of a juncture in the year, especially when you can see what projects you have coming up, that you shouldn't have a pretty good handle on what your taxes are going to look like this year. And we need to be planning for that. We need to be setting aside money for that. Cool. All right, so that's number 2. And then number 3, just got off the phone with a new client. It was our second meeting. We started diving into some job cost reports. We went through their profit and loss statement. I started quizzing, asking questions. Hi, Dennis. And from our first meeting, I had an action step for them to send me a couple job cost reports. And we were looking at about $82,000 project for these clients. And as we were going through it, I said, how often are you guys looking at your job cost reports? You finish a job, how often are you reflecting on the actual job cost report, even if it's just the costs of what it looks like, let alone if we're comparing what we were expecting versus our actual. And their response to me was, well, this is about as much as we've done it this year. And we had spent 5 minutes on it so far. We have got to, at the end of projects, take the time to print out our job cost report again, even if it's just showing the expenses. That's better than nothing. Ideally, if you can see this is what I was expecting to make, this was my actual. But you've got to take the time to study that. If you just breeze right through into the next job, there are so many lessons that you are missing. Changes to how you're estimating your work. Changes, understanding of actually feeling the fact that on this project they were looking at, they should have had $8,500 more of gross profit than they did. Now, they can explain a few pieces of it. Well, we underestimated this. We had this issue on the job. But when you actually feel and understand the $8,500, it's a lot different than, yeah, we didn't do as good on that project than what we were expecting. That's a totally different feeling. And when you know the actual number and you're paying attention to the number, you can't help but get better and improve it. What gets measured gets improved. And if you're paying attention to your job costing, you will be a more profitable, solid, better remodeler. Hi, Chris. Hi, Phil. Hi, Dennis. I'm on fire a little bit this morning. So those 3 things. One is explain more upfront to your homeowners of the reality of remodeling. Let them know the warts. Let them know the issues that are going to come along. The less you surprise them with that. It's hard for people to yell at you about the fact that they're washing dishes in the sink and they're frustrated when you've already said, just so you know, you're going to be frustrated at some point in this process. When you're sitting there washing dishes in the bathroom sink, you're going to be really frustrated. I can't really yell at you for that when I'm like, oh yeah, he was right. It is tough, but he also told us we're going to love this at the end. Set clear expectations. Number 2, you've got to understand, battle, fight to understand your financials and taxes. I continually do this. This is hot on my mind because I was spending some time yesterday looking into this and understanding, how am I being taxed? What tax bracket am I in? Oh, wait a minute. On the first $12,000 of income, I'm only being taxed at 10%. On the next batch, it's 12%. On the next batch, 18%. I've always wondered when I do my calculation of how much my taxes are versus how much my taxable income was, I'm like, why is this not X percent? It's lower than what I would expect. Well, it's because of the way the tax brackets work. I studied it. I learned it. I started Google searching. I watched a quick video, and I have super solid clarity on that now. That's just one of many things you have to understand as an S corp. You have to understand qualified business, reduction, that you're saving 20% on your pass-through income as an S corp. If you're an LLC and you're not an S corp, you've got to be asking your CPA if they're not proactively doing it. which frustrates me because that's what they should be doing. The fact that if you're making 100,000, 120,000 and you're not an S corp, you're leaving money on the table, let alone if you're making more than that. So you've got to be battling to understand your taxes, your financials. It's a really good time of the year to sit down with your CPA and say, teach me. I need to understand this. Can we go through my 2018 taxes? Help me understand why I might be taking an itemized deduction instead of a standard deduction this year. Help me understand all of these details. Okay. And then third, what was it? Related to job costing. Please do not move on to the next job until you have studied a job cost report. If you're not able to print out a report from QuickBooks or Buildertrend or CoConstruct or whatever you're using, or manually do it, however you're going to do it. If you're not able to say, here's how much income I brought in on the Smith job, here is my cost of goods sold, labor, materials, subcontractors, here's my gross profit. Oh, wait a minute, I have a 55% markup, so I should be seeing a 35% margin, gross profit margin. If you don't know what that means, we got to study it. You got to dive into this and understand it. Nobody's going to do it for you. So if you're not clear with these financials, sit down with your CPA, invest in some training, watch YouTube videos, post down a question in this comment and say, Kyle, I didn't understand that whole markup margin conversation. What are you talking about? Let me pitch in, let others pitch in, work at it. As a business owner, you've got to dedicate time to that and you've got to understand it. And the better and clearer you are, the more profitable you're going to be. All right, so there's your recap. I got to get scooting and hope you guys are having an awesome week. Have a great Friday. Be efficient, be productive. Take the time to call somebody you haven't talked to in a while. Make sure you take a little time for family and yourself this weekend. Later. To tell you about. It's called Remodelers Autopilot. If you go to Remodelers with an S at the end, remodelersAutopilot.com, you will see all of the details on this. Your most valuable marketing asset is your previous client list. These are the people that already have know, like, and trust with you. They are your biggest source for new project leads, for referrals to their friends and families. It's important. And so often we are doing squat, zip, zilch, nada to stay in touch with our previous clients. Remodelers Autopilot was designed specifically for remodelers who are doing kitchens, bathrooms, additions, that type of work, as a very, very easy, turnkey, affordable, simple, excellent way for you to consistently stay in touch with your previous clients with a done-for-you email newsletter and done-for-you social media posts. It's $1 to try it out for the first month and only $125 a month thereafter. And it just works. I've been doing this for all of my remodeling clients for years, and it just works. It's solid, and it solves this problem of not staying in touch with your previous clients. Give it a look, remodelersAutopilot.com. Fill out the little form, and we'll talk more.